Happy Friday. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. I'm Jay Zawaski with Greg Boysen and Mario Tirabassi. Law is here spinning things and fading things and putting things on the screen for you, as he always does, and chiming in from time to time.
Hello.
Him and I are a little bit worried about our Stars in 5 prediction, but it's still alive. It's still alive.
You got to lose one
as of today
to win in 5
they had to
games.
Lose one.
That's true.
So we're going to get to the playoffs in the last segment of the show. We've got Daily Faceoff today, published their list of the top 75 free agents and try to put like a number
all of
value.
them will be Blackhawks.
All 75?
Yes,
Yep.
all 75.
But first, we're going to start with a trade that the Blackhawks made today. Before we fill you in on the details, as if you don't already know, do us a favor and smash that like button for us. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube page. If you are listening on the classic podcast apps, follow, subscribe, like, whatever they have you do on your favorite app. And take some time to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We would greatly appreciate that. So here's the trade announced this afternoon. The Hawks traded the 20th overall pick, the 54th overall pick, and the 61st overall pick, those last two, both second-rounders, to the New York Islanders, and they receive the 18th overall pick and the 50th overall pick, also a second-rounder. So they move up a total of 6 spots. Most importantly, they move from 20 to 18. So basically what you're doing is you're giving up an extra second to move up 2 spots in the first and 4 spots in the second. Fellas, your thoughts?
I'm very okay with it. I don't think this is anything right now to be like, hooting and hollering about, because it's, you give up a second-round pick, but you move up in the first round, which, as we've been talking to Scott Wheeler and Cam Robinson and Chris Peters about this year's first-round crop.
It's a crop.
There's about 15 to 16 players in this first-round group that you can say, yep, they will all be in the first 15 and 16 picks and then that gap between 15 and 20, where the Blackhawks were at, it's kind of a toss-up between, who's going to be around and also the quality of player. So for the Blackhawks to go from 20 to 18 gets them a little closer to that 15, 16 range of picks and players. And, trying to move up in the first round and using that 18th pick is a little sexier than the 20th pick, because it starts with a 1 instead of a 2. So, I think that's a big thing. You move up from 54 to 50, cool. You don't have the second to last or third to last pick of the second round. Oh well. I think, having 7 picks in the first 3 rounds, it would have been surprising if they used all 7 of them. So we see Kyle Davidson making some movements, whether this is to get to 18 because they have a guy directly in their crosshairs that they want, that they don't think is going to be at 20. That could be one thing. Or it could be setting up something else that happens closer to draft night or on draft night.
Yeah, it is a little interesting that this type of trade happens so far out from the draft. Usually this is the type of trade you see happen 30 seconds before the pick's supposed to be in. We have a trade.
Yeah, right.
Day before.
Right. So could it be part of something bigger? Sure, it could. My favorite part about this trade is now, for the next 6-7 Mailbag Mondays or Tuesdays for next week, when somebody says, can Kyle Davidson move up? We'll be like, he already has. He did. He already has.
Check the box off. He moved up.
He's already done it. But yeah, obviously there's a need to he feels wants to move up a little bit. Maybe he then takes some of these picks, still has 6 picks in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Who knows if he uses all those?
Yeah, right.
Things. This could be a small part of a big thing for either team, or it just could be, hey, the guy we're targeting, we're pretty sure this team at 19 is going to want him, so let's get in front of them.
Yeah.
Vegas probably needs right-handed defensemen. Look at their defensive core. Mm-hmm. It's old.
Yeah.
And it's not getting any younger. Alec Martinez is probably gone. Petrangelo's not getting any younger. Noah Hannafin, he's in the prime of his career, but
they just locked him up too.
Maybe they want a right-handed defenseman at 19, so you go, well, let's get ahead of them because we're going to draft Demidov too. We want one of those right-handed guys that are going to be there. We talked about a couple of those guys yesterday. Emery was one. Maybe they think no way he's getting past Vegas, so let's get ahead of them to get that guy.
Well, look, I don't think we have full understanding of exactly what they're thinking, but it's oddly specific. The timing of it is interesting. So, like, I see a lot of people like, this is stupid. Why would he do? There is clearly something he's aiming at.
Yeah, this isn't just
like it's
random.
not just to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, the Islanders called. Sure. Why not?
Yeah, right. Like, and
We owe them for Josh Bailey. Let's do this.
Yeah, and like we've said this a few times. Like, whether or not you think Kyle Davidson's master plan is going to work out, I think not everyone, but most people with a functioning gray stuff between her ears would agree that he's at least thorough a brain. He at least works through things. There's logic and reason in the decisions he makes. And again, whether or not this rebuild produces a cup or two or three or whatever remains to be seen. But the process is sound. This is not some willy-nilly thing like, oh, want to trade up 2 spots? Yeah, that sounds fun. No, like Greg said, he's looking, okay, they're probably mock drafting every day leading up to this draft and saying, like, all right, like Greg said, maybe Vegas wants 19. Maybe they're going to trade up again. Maybe. And they've got a team at 13 that doesn't have any interest in 20, but they've got some interest in 18 and 50, and maybe 18 and 50 get you up to 13. And then maybe 13 is TJ Ginla or someone you really like that you know is not going to be there at 18 or 20 or beyond. Yeah. So the fact that this is so specific, the timing of this thing is what makes it so fascinating for me, because it does feel like they've determined this is an 18-player draft.
Yeah, it could be.
You know what I mean? And we have to get in to the top 18 if we're going to get someone that we really desire, based on the mock drafts they've done and the projections they've done.
I also withhold. I treat this kind of like the off season. You can't declare an off season a failure or a victory by what happens on the first day. You got to wait and see how it all pans out.
Yeah,
This trade is a trade. Let's see where it goes. But I'm not going to be like, oh, that's a great move or it's a terrible move, because this is probably just the first thing that sets a couple other things in motion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we'll see what happens. But, anytime you move up, it's not a bad thing. And this is why Kyle Davidson spent so much time these past 2 years getting all these extra draft picks. So then when it comes to the time to actually try and get something done, you have plenty of ammunition, plenty of things out there. They've got a ton of extra picks next year too.
Yeah.
So, not every draft pick is going to be a prospect. Not every prospect is going to be an NHL player. They're also currency, and this is the time where you use it as currency to get things you want.
Liam says Davidson will probably eventually explain why he did this too. They're pretty transparent that way. Yeah, I mean they didn't hide any of the stuff about last year wanting to trade up for Oliver Moore. Now they're not going to tell you while the draft's going on or before the draft, but I think once the smoke clears in the draft, he might not even have to say it. It might be very obvious.
Being mic'd and had a camera on him during that whole time didn't exactly. Yeah. That was pretty transparent too.
But there's also some people are saying maybe he's looking to make a trade for. We've been talking about Martin Necas, John Waddell stepped down from Carolina today. Maybe they're looking to move some people out, and he's trying to get more attractive picks to make trades. And is 18 more attractive than 20? Yes, it is. Yes, there's so many ways this can go. But I think the fact that it happened today, and not we're 36 days away from the draft right now, according to Siri. I can't math. That far away to make this today, and even I saw Saravalli kind of raise his eyebrows, and a couple of people said, "Why so soon?" They could be looking to make a deal too, and that's something to consider as well.
Maybe some other team was like, "Man, if you only had a pick in the top 18, we'd make this trade." And Kyle Davis says, "Hold my beer."
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have the 18th
Hold my Shirley
pick.
Temple.
Let's make this trade.
Yeah. Well, and last year there were no trades in the first round, so getting it done now to be like, okay, well, we made a move to try and get up, checking off a box ahead of time. You know, if they have a guy specifically that they want to get, like, don't wait until you're on the draft floor at the Sphere and you're trying to make phone calls and everyone's like, I kind of like where I'm at. I don't want to move up. I don't want to move back. Like, you could get to this, you kind of, it works in your favor to be at this point and be like, well, I mean, we don't really know what's going to be at 18 or what's going to be at 20. And so, yeah, we can, from the Islanders' perspective, you go, yeah, we move back 2 spots, but we get back into the second round again. Like, sometimes, you know, for the philosophies of 2 teams involved in a trade, it might work out for both rather than just looking at, you know, assets in, assets out. You know, it works for the Islanders. They're a team that's kind of in a spot where, you know, they're not really good enough to contend for anything, and they don't really have necessarily the future that, like, gives you a lot of excitement. So you get back into the second round by moving back a combined 6 spots. And the Blackhawks, they're in a spot where they've used a lot of draft picks. They still have a lot. Now it's like, okay, let's move up the quality of players that we're getting, in their eyes at least, at the sacrifice of 1 second-round pick.
Yeah, usually the longer you wait, the more expensive things get.
Yeah. Well, I liked your point, too, of, you know, if you do this during a draft and teams are just like, we're pretty happy with where we're at, remember, a lot's happening during the draft, right? Like, and I think maybe Kyle Davidson learned last year that, you know what, if I want to, I mean, he didn't know Oliver Moore was going to slip as far as he did, but maybe the lesson was learned that, hey, if I want to trade picks, I better get on it sooner than later. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty soon. He's got 36 days before the draft. So we'll see. I'm fascinated to see where this is going to go because there's so many ways. There's so many ways it can go. Mm-hmm. There's so many reasons he could have done it. And I'm fascinated by it. And I wish I could just text him and be like, what's the deal? But I can't. I mean, you know what I can do?
You could try.
I don't have his number.
He won't answer you.
I don't have his number. You know what I can do, though, is go home and grill up some pork.
You can.
Because it is grilling season. Get your pork! That's what the ad copy says. People who are active, unlike me, need more protein than the average American. In fact, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, Dietitians of Canada, and the American College of Sports Medicine recommend 1.2 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day for athletes, depending on training. So for a 150-pound person...
Wait, how many kilograms is in a 150-pound person?
I don't know.
That's about... is a 150-pound person?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like an odd part.
When I go to the doctor, they have the scale on kilograms to make you not feel bad about yourself.
That's cool.
I like that. I appreciate it. Well, here you go. So do the math here. So for a 150-pound person... That's about 81 to 136 grams of protein per day. 1 3-ounce serving of pork provides 23 grams of high-quality protein that can help active individuals build and preserve muscle. The International Society of Sports Nutrition, they have fun parties at the end of the year, recommends that people who are involved in a general fitness program or who are interested in optimizing their health eat low-fat, high-quality sources of protein. That includes lean cuts o' pork. Mm-hmm. Elevate your protein game with lean pork, a powerhouse of natural goodness. Savor the flavor, savor the gains, and celebrate any occasion by enjoying the best pork produced by Illinois pig farmers. From your sausage and bacon for breakfast to pulled pork or juicy chops hot off the grill, it's an entire season dedicated to pork and the people behind the product, paid for by the Illinois pork producers. Generations of commitment.
A 150-pound person is 0.03 kilograms.
Thank you. Just weird that the ad copy is written that way.
Well, because pork is smaller portions of pork are going to be measured in grams than in pounds.
Apparently, the Illinois pork producers think we live in England.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, Is it
I just like when I step on the scale at the doctor and it says 110. I'm like, sweet.
Oh, quick math. Let's see. How much just I'm kidding. I already closed it because I got to tell people about Game Time.
242.
Hey, do you like baseball?
Yes, occasionally.
Great. Well, with Game Time, you can get your baseball tickets this season through them because they are an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes it easier and faster to get tickets at the best prices because on Game Time, they actually go down when it gets closer to first pitch with their killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, the feature with the views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And as far as I know, Game Time isn't in any kind of class action lawsuit. Hey, those last-minute deals, you'll love those. Save up to 60% off of buying last minute for your sports, concert, comedy, theater events, etc. Anything you want to try and get to, Game Time can help you save when you want to get there. And the views from your seats, you love that because you get a panoramic view from the seat that you're trying to buy a ticket to in the app before you buy. So if you don't like the sight lines on your, outfield seat, you're in the left field bleachers and the foul pole's in your way, you'll be able to find out with Game Time because you can see the view before you buy the ticket. So take all the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets this year with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CHGO for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, download Game Time, create an account, redeem the code CHGO, and you're going to get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Our guy, Evil Bills, asked who's the best 61st overall pick of all time. Did I see that right?
Ooh, good question.
61st overall pick has produced some decent players, but not a lot. Here's some of the lists in the last almost 30 years to go 61st overall. Johnny Boychuk, pretty good career. Drafted by the Avalanche.
Not bad.
Maxim Lapierre.
Sure.
Alex Gologowski, he's had a pretty good career. Wayne Simmons had a pretty nice career at 61st overall. Then we can move to 2011. Shane Prince, he's had some NHL time. Devin Shore. And our guy, Blackhawks legend, Zach Sanford was the 61st
Stanley Cup champion.
Overall
Zach Sanford.
champion.
by the Washington Capitals in 2013. And after that, not a whole lot. But the jury's still out on some of these guys. But yeah.
So
So
you can find a guy who can play in the NHL.
find a guy, and you can find a better guy at 50.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And 18.
Yeah.
We got some super chats to knock out here. Alexander with 5 euros.
Yes.
Correct? My thoughts are that Kyle Davidson setting a trade up.
I was gonna
18 and 50 is better than 20 and 54. That's correct. He wanted, and I'm sorry, I was reading it
He
from
wanted
there.
and didn't manage to trade up last year. Too specific, as Jay says. Too specific of a move.
Yeah.
For something not to be behind door number 2.
How many, I can't think of the word. Never mind. Forget it.
Conversions?
Conversions. That's
How many conversions are we going to do?
Yeah.
We've got euros and kilograms.
Too many already.
We are in Chicago, right? I know it took me 2 hours and 15 minutes to get here, but we're still in Chicago,
We're
right?
still in North America.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Good. Glad we're not in Mexico.
And Brandon says, am I being too optimistic to expect the Hawks next season to have a season like the Blues or Wild did this past season?
That might be a little optimistic.
It seems about the ceiling of optimism.
But if everything goes right, and I don't even want to start really making predictions
We have no
until
idea
we
what
know
the
what the
roster
roster is
is.
going to
Yeah.
look like.
Yeah.
But if everything goes right, the Hawks could be a team that is contending, quotation marks, for a wild card spot.
In the hunt.
When they show the graphic on TNT, and they're in contention until February-ish, March-ish. Maybe you trade off a couple guys if you don't. But everything has to go right. I still think.
Do you see any scenario where the Blackhawks don't sell at the trade deadline?
Well, they didn't sell a ton this year.
Sure. But
How many guys
in
are-
terms of a team selling, buying, or staying pat? Any
hard- it's
any
hard-
How many
scenario
guys?
in which they're
How many
not
guys
trading
are
away?
actual trade pieces this year, though? Taylor Hall, maybe.
Hall,
if he's healthy.
if he's healthy and
Evan
performs.
Siu.
If he's
Donato,
healthy.
Athanasiou, if
Donato,
he's healthy
yeah.
and
I
performs.
mean,
Like,
those-
there's guys there.
Right. If there's a market for any of those guys, I'm sure they'll listen to offers.
But what I'm saying is
there a scenario where
do you feel
add?
do you feel like there's any scenario in which they are not looking to move any of those guys where they believe they are in contention enough to say, hey, let's go for the postseason for this group?
It's going to be a pretty hard sell where if your trade deadline and you're, say, 7 points out of a wild card, 6 points out of a wild card.
If you're that far, I say trade. But if you're,
it's going to be a hard sell, though.
If you're 2 points
to go
out
to
of
a
a
guy
wild
like
card.
Luke Richardson and Nick Foligno and Jason Dickinson saying, "Well, you guys tried really hard, but now we're going to get rid of 2 of our top guys and Taylor Hall." And
yeah. If you're a half dozen points out, sure, you can offer that
you
up.
could stand pat and say, "Well, all right."
But if you're 2 points out, what do you do?
You
Go for it?
You go for it. Hell yeah. You
Meaningful
go for it.
games matter.
Hell yeah.
And what are you going to get for those guys you're willing to trade to? You know what I mean? Like, it's
Not the 61st overall pick.
what do you get for Ryan Donato?
71st
Right.
overall.
I mean,
I don't know.
I think there is value in
I hope this is a discussion we get to debate throughout the month of February next year.
I would love that. That would mean.
But a lot
we're
of
having
things
some
would have
fun.
to go right.
I will say, by the way, Blues and Wild are optimistic that the Blues had 92 points.
that's not
The
happening.
Wild had 87. The Hawks had 52.
Yeah, if the Hawks,
I've
get
been
to
saying
65,
Coyotes all along. They're going to
the
be like
Hawks
last
get to
year's Coyotes.
65. Sure, that's not great, but damn, that's a big improvement.
The Coyotes had 77 points last year,
That would
and
be
we're in it until
If they get
New
to
Year's.
if they get about 70 points or more, that's a success.
I thought last year's team could
improvement.
sniff 70 points if everything went right, and the exact opposite happened. Everything went wrong.
basically.
So you have an improved roster this year. You'll have an improved roster because you're going to have year 2 of Connor Bedard, year 2 of Kevin Korchinski, another year of Alex Vlasic, Frank Nazar, Landon Slaggert. Those are automatic improvements and upgrades from Taylor Radish and Mackenzie Entwistle and Colin Blackwell.
Yeah.
Like, those are better players.
And Davidson has flat out said they're going to improve the roster.
So they'll have an
Yeah,
they'll have an improved
They're going to
roster.
try and be active in
So,
the offseason.
Again, I think the Hawks, if everything goes right, could flirt with 70 points this season.
Yeah.
And if you fall short and you get 65 points, that's still
It's a 13-point improvement.
and that's huge. That's
Yeah.
6 wins.
6 wins and an overtime loss more.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, that's nothing. Or not nothing.
that's a big improvement. And that's all you really want to see this year is you want to see improvement from those young guys that matter. You want to see them take that big step from year 1 to year 2 or year 2 to year 3. And you want to see the team, some of those games they couldn't win last year, having that 3-2 lead in the third period and they ultimately blow it, win a couple of those games.
Yes.
Or get that 3-0 lead and win 3-1 instead of 4-3 in a shootout.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, do the things you couldn't do this year more often, and it's a successful season.
Yeah. By the way, on this trade, too, like I saw Kay mention in the chat that if you use the NFL trade value chart, the Hawks got creamed on this trade.
That's not
in the
even
NFL,
close.
you're picking from a pool of hundreds of players.
You're also
so 2 spots is
first-
not valuable.
You're also first and second round picks are guys that are going to play on your starting lineup next year, basically.
right.
It's
Like,
not, that's not the case
There's
in
no
the
minor
NHL.
league development in the NFL.
And by the way,
They either play or they don't.
there are NHL draft value charts. You don't have to go by the NHL or NFL. You can go by the NHL. I believe there's many models out there. Let me find. I saw one earlier.
I think Puckpedia has one, right?
But yeah, Puckpedia has one. I know. I think Dom Luszczyszyn has one.
Of course, Dom
Here's
has
one.
one.
Here it is. So this is according to The Athletic, which I believe is through Dom. The Hawks pick values were, and again, this is just a number. I have no metric behind it, so it's a number. The Hawks pick value was a 5.9, and the Islanders pick value was a 6.5. Granted, the Islanders got 3 picks, and the Blackhawks got 2. So value per pick is higher for the Blackhawks, but quantity favors the Islanders.
Right.
5.9 versus 6.5 units of measurement, I don't know.
But when you also consider the fact
Not with the
Again,
units of measurement.
again,
Here we go.
kilograms,
more converted.
ounces,
But
I
how
don't
much
know.
is that worth on the NFL scale?
I don't
How many
know.
kilograms is that?
I don't know. I was told we weren't going to talk OTAs today.
But when you also factor in, the Hawks gave up Islanders gained a pick, but the Hawks still have 2 first-round picks, and they still have 2 second-round picks,
Yeah.
and 2 third-round picks. So, when you have all these extra picks, you can live with giving up one here or there.
I think we have This is not Blackhawks news,
Uh-oh.
but
Dun dun dun.
from the Vancouver Canucks, General Manager Patrick Alvin has announced that Manny Malhotra has been hired as the new coach of the Abbotsford Canucks.
Oh, Jeremy Colleton's
A
going to get
position
that.
formerly held, apparently now formerly held by one Jeremy Colleton. So am I missing something about Colleton?
Did he
I
take?
heard some.
Looks like,
chirps
so. Here's a quote from Ryan Johnson, the Abbotsford GM and Canucks assistant GM. First of all, I'd like to thank Jeremy Colleton and Gary Agnew for the work they did for us in Abbotsford. So there you go. It sounds like
I love Gary Agnew's song "Cars." That's great.
it's really good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Goodbye. But we were talking about this the other day that allegedly the Sharks were sniffing around.
Maybe.
Allegedly,
Colleton?
yeah. Yeah, it says here.
That's what the chat's been chirping
Jeremy,
about over here.
Jeremy Colleton seems to be walking away after 2 years with Abbotsford. So I don't think a guy would walk away from a job if he didn't think he was going to
Right.
get another job and potentially an improvement in his job. Yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting.
You
to
would
see.
think-
Comment from Ian McIntyre from Sportsnet. There's a tweet. Big move repatriating Manny Malhotra. Good word. But also big risk letting Jeremy Colleton walk after his excellent development work over the last 2 years.
Interesting. Yeah, Sharks have been rumored to have been interested in him. Maybe he gets an assistant coaching position if it's not a head coaching position in the NHL. We'll see. If he does go to the
Vancouver fans,
Sharks,
they love Jeremy Colleton.
do you think Macklin Celebrini pulls an Eric Lindros?
Now he does.
Seriously.
Happens all the time in hockey.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
the time.
The reason that Eric Lindros is the most recent example is because it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we use that 30-year-old, over 30-year-old.
A player who has been long retired.
Well, we'll see.
Interesting.
It's definitely interesting. It is a little odd to leave if you don't have that other deal already wrapped up.
I
Yeah.
mean, it makes me feel like
Something about counting chickens comes to mind.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, but it makes me feel like in the next 24 to 48 hours, we're going to hear that he's got a job somewhere. I feel
Probably.
like as much as we've, bemused him over the years, I don't think he's someone that's going to take a risk and be like, I'm leaving this job and I don't have anything else to look forward to.
Yeah, and remember we had Brendan Perlini on last week, and he talked about the time with Jeremy Colleton, and it was not quite as disastrous as we make it out to be. He kind of wrote it off to like weird decision at a weird time. The roster and him weren't really a great fit, but didn't talk about him like he was an idiot or a boob or a clown or anything. It just kind of like, I don't know, as a guy coming in there pretty young, pretty green with a really established NHL team, and it's tough to make that work. And Perlini kind of said, and it's on our Twitter if you want to go find it, Perlini basically said, like, he thought that maybe the thought of the move was that, like, the veteran players would lead the team, which is odd and very he who shall not be named-ish in my mind. But he wasn't the idiots that I think we make him out to be. And if you go through Twitter right now, people are reacting to this Malhotra news. A lot of Canucks fans are like, damn, it sucks to lose Colleton. We wish him the best. Hope to see him in the NHL someday.
These are
I don't know.
sure. You never had to go through
I
the.
mean, could he have been a really good minor league coach? We just never had the time for him to figure that out in the minor leagues with Chicago. He had a year and 2 months with Rockford before being up in Chicago, which seemed really fast. So,
Yeah, I mean, I got to deal with Colleton very little. The first year I covered the AHL full time was that year he was there for how many games it was.
Yeah.
The first 6 weeks of the season. And the little interaction I had with him a few times, he was very, very nice guy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
My biggest thing for Colleton is, that thing was a disaster, but he was put in a position to succeed or to fail. I just hope if he gets this, whether it's the Sharks, whether it's down the road, if he gets another crack at the NHL, learn from your mistakes of the past and listen to the people around you a little more. Maybe
Yes.
don't be so stubborn and this guy plays this position and this guy's on this line and we got to do this. Actually build a system around your players and not the other way around.
I feel like what he was doing was, because he was so young and because he was so doubted, that he sort of felt like he had to go in there and be a hard ass and like show everybody how smart he was. I hope he learned from that situation.
For his sake, definitely.
You'd hope so. I mean, if he wants to succeed, you'd hope that's the case. If he tries the same thing again, it's probably going to have the same results.
All right.
Possibly.
Tell us
After
what
all this
Sunnyside.
talk of Jeremy Colleton, it's making me remember
Yeah.
those years, and
Need some pot.
I need to I need to try not to remember those years. So I need to make a stop to the Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Our friends at Sunnyside, they're back, and I'm not that they went anywhere really, but they're back with us here at CHGO because it is a Sunnyside summer, and you want to use that new code HICHGO, HICHGO, to get 30% off at Sunnyside. And 35%, yeah.
Hot damn.
35. That's even
Wild.
better.
A lot of
That's
money.
lots of pots.
That's like 5.9 value improvement, right?
That's enough.
Yeah.
That's 1.1 ratio to the money you get off at Shady Rays.
It is. That is true. And for those of you who are new, what is Sunnyside? Well, it's your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. And they have tons of in-house brands that you can choose from to enjoy your summer. They got the Mindy's, which is a James Beard award-winning chef Mindy Siegel and Cresco Labs partnering to create the world's best-tasting gummy and chocolate edibles that are both perfectly dosed for a consistent experience as well as incredibly delicious. They've also got the Good News, the High Supply, the Floracal, the Wonder, the Remedy. So many different brands, even more than those, for you to check out and to enjoy this summer. So what you want to do is head to sunnyside.shop and use that code HICHGO, HICHGO, at checkout, and you're going to get 35% off of your favorite brands like the ones I mentioned before, including Cresco, Good News, and all the other ones to elevate your first purchase. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for those 21 and older or Illinois medical card holders.
There you go. And if you use that promo code and get yourself some discounted cannabis, and then you get an attack of the munchies.
That usually
Cheeto
will
dust,
happen.
And you get
Do what Emery says. Go to Kuma's.
yeah, and then you get their
boy.
awesome jalapeno infused ketchup all over your shirt because you're stoned as hell, and you get stuff. Then you take that shirt over to CD One Price Cleaners, and they'll clean it for you.
They sure will.
And you're going to save over 30% on your dry cleaning bill just by switching to CD1 Price Cleaners. Other cleaners can charge a different price for every garment type. Plus, they'll have upcharges, and you may pay a different price each time you visit. They think you don't notice, but we noticed. At CD1 Price Cleaners, they charge, get this, one price
No
for any
way.
low
I
garment.
was going to
Yep.
say 6 prices.
That's
Just
why
the
they put it
one?
on. That's why they put it on the sign.
But how many prices in Europe?
One.
Oh,
Even sports jerseys, your kits, you can get those
Kits.
washed for the same price. CD1 Price Cleaners has your order ready the same day or the next day. Other cleaners, they may take 2 to 4 days to have your clean garments ready, and by then, I have already ordered a replacement shirt because
So
I forgot I
impatient.
owned it. I
If
said,
we know
"Damn
anything
it!"
about you, it's you hate ordering shirts.
Yes, it's the worst thing in the
Yeah,
world.
you
Like,
definitely-
damn it, where is my one non-designed collared shirt? I don't have one. I have to get a new one. Well, they'll send you a text alert and they say, hey, come get your shirt. It's ready. And then you'll go get it. And you don't have to buy a new one. Plus, they offer dry cleaning, wash and fold laundry, blankets and comforters, tailor and alteration. They'll even clean your leather, which is good for Jay's assless chaps,
Yes,
and
it is.
area rug cleaning.
Nice.
So visit chgo.cdone.com. The link is also in the description below. Once there, you can pick from an in-store coupon or online pickup and delivery coupon options.
nice.
Sounds good to me. One price. Very easy to remember that.
That is.
We got a super chat here from our buddy Lebowski5. It says, I think the focus on offensive ability and a defenseman is getting out of hand. If you have 5 Hjalmarssons and 1 Karlsson, you have a great decor, but the reverse, not so much. Well, I also think that
I agree. But
your typical
also-
defenseman now, you don't really have so many defensive defensemen and offensive defensemen. It's not as clearly defined anymore.
Right.
The
Yeah.
game's kind of changed in that way where everybody kind of has to do everything. Like you think about Alex Vlasic, who we think of as like stay at home. He's going to have more offense than he gets credit for.
Yeah.
Brent Seabrook had more offense than he got credit for.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's very few Connor Murphys in the league anymore.
Yeah, and you know, Hjalmarsson, I think we think of him as, you know, the defensive shutdown guy, blocking shots, putting his body on the line to make the right plays. He was also really good moving the puck, like in transition, getting it out of the zone up to, you know, the forwards group to get it out. Like he was really good at that, and that's one of those things that even the guys that you think of as like defensive defensemen, like you still have to have the ability to move within your own zone and be able to move the puck well. So I think the modern defenseman is a lot more hybrid of being able to skate and move and you know, be quick with the puck and make quick decisions, more than it is just one guy is strictly, I'm going to leave my defensive position because I want to be a forward. Early editions of Erik Gustafsson. And I can only play defense, and I will never, ever make a pass to set up a goal or anything like that kind of defenseman. Like there's a lot of guys that now fall in that middle, because you'd even think about, look at like a guy like Cale Makar, how much offensive ability he has outshines how good defensively he actually is as well.
You could say the
Like
same
he's
thing
not
about
just
Quinn Hughes.
he's
no
not
pushover
just a
defensively.
straight offense only guy. He, like a lot of these guys can get it done in their own defensive zone as well.
I think
Lebowski had a follow up too, by the way, but go ahead.
I think the perfect example of that kind of, today's typical like hybrid defenseman. When you look at a guy play last night, Matthias Ekholm.
Yeah.
You think of him as a defensive defenseman because all those years playing with Roman Josi, because Roman Josi is the offensive specialist. But he's pretty darn good. I mean, this year in Edmonton, 11 goals and 45 points. I mean, that's but plays very responsible defense as well. That's the type of guy everybody's looking for. But yeah, and Lebowski says his point is the Karlsson type is always going to get drafted ahead of the Hjalmarsson type. Yes, because the Karlsson type, 100 points from a defenseman is much harder to find
unheard of
than a Hjalmarsson. As great as Hjalmarsson was, a lot of GMs say, well, I could get a guy like that.
But,
Yeah, right.
but to bring up a name you just said, but an Erik Gustafsson type is not going to get drafted before Nicholas Hjalmarsson. And Erik Gustafsson has had as much as we malign him here, he's had a pretty successful NHL career. Has played big minutes and big teams, but that's like your more. It's hard to say like Erik Karlsson, because that is a like a once in a generation type of offensive defenseman.
Yeah. No,
in terms of numbers and ability.
Yeah, and Erik Gustafsson that you're seeing now is not the Erik Gustafsson you saw even just a few years ago in Chicago.
Technically, Erik Gustafsson was drafted ahead of Nicholas Hjalmarsson.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys that from the defensive spot can put up big numbers are always going to get a lot of attention, but that the value of a guy that can be steady defensively that you can put out there, and it's just like, I know that this guy can stop an opposition's top player, but also be able to chip in offensively, or if he needs to break out a rush on his own just to get out of the zone. Like the value to that is really hard to. It's not as sexy on tape as a guy that goes coast to coast, dangles, and scores a goal, but then the next shift gets turnstiled and gives up a goal. A guy that can stop a top offensive player and then give it up, get the puck up to his offensive teammates, to forwards, to make something of it, like that's super valuable. So, yeah, it's the guys that put up big numbers are always going to be the ones that get the attention.
Yeah, for sure. because, you still have to score goals in this league. Even if you have the best defensive team in the league, you still got to figure out a way to get some goals.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, today the Daily Faceoff published the top 75 pending free agents and gave AAV projections for them. Do you guys want to guess, if you don't have it in front of you already?
I don't have it in front of me, and I did not read it.
The top predicted contract, which player it will be to get the biggest AAV as a free agent this summer?
Sam Reinhart.
Sam Reinhart is correct. Daily Faceoff is saying 8 years, $11.3 million.
There's no way I'm signing that deal. No effing way.
And if he proves that he's that guy, good for him.
Yeah.
That is a risky proposition.
Well, the Bruins figured out how to take him away in that last series on the power play where he's most effective. I'm all about players getting paid. If you can get that deal, good for you, buddy.
Get your money.
But I'm not doing that.
No.
How about second? You got a guess for the second guy?
Well, I had a guess.
Jake Gensel?
Jake Gensel is right.
Then it was on the screen, but that was going to be my guess.
Oh, well, there you go.
That was going to be my guess.
I want to organically try and guess this. So I'm not going to
7 years, $9.25 million for Jake Gensel.
That's a little better. That's better than
He'll be 37
Reinhart.
at the end of that deal.
Yeah. I mean, he
that's what
looked
it takes
good
to
with
get
Carolina.
If that's what it takes to get those first 4 years and maybe a Stanley Cup for whatever team signs them, then you deal with those last 3 years.
Right.
Steven Stamkos is next. 3 years, $6.13 million. That sounds very, very tempting to me.
I would do that in Chicago.
He's not. He's going back to Tampa.
It's sure.
I've said it all along.
It would be too weird without it.
I can't envision those two sides not making it work.
I can envision it every day.
It's because you go to Sunnyside and use that 35% off.
Manifest, Greg.
Hey.
Come on.
You do.
All right,
whatever you got to do.
Rating out the top 5 in terms of cap hits. Brady Shea, Daily Faceoff predicts 5 years, $7.5 million.
Whoa.
And number 5, Brandon Montour, 6 years, $7.7 million.
Would you do that in Chicago?
He's 30.
That's a big upgrade defensively, though.
It is. There's no doubt about that. That's a little long. I'd rather give him more for less time.
5 years, $8 million?
Yeah. 4 years, $8 million?
I don't think he takes a 4-year deal.
Yeah, 4 years.
This is his last chance to get that 6-year deal, and he's going to take it.
Yeah.
I mean, is 7.7 that bad in 6 years?
In 6 years?
That's true. I mean,
No,
you can look at it that way, too.
But is he going to be worth that much even at a lesser percentage?
I mean, at that
of the cap?
point, that 5th, 6th year, you're going to be paying your 4th best defenseman that kind of money? Does that make a lot of sense?
I don't know.
I mean, if you still have young guys on their, bridge deals or whatever that you're getting value for, sure. But, yeah, I don't know.
All right, here's a couple names that are close to Chicagoans. Projecting Patrick Kane, 2 years, $6.3 million.
I don't feel like he's going to take a 2-year deal, would he?
He's 36.
Yeah, but he's in his mind, he thinks he can play till he's 40.
But if Scott Powers' instincts are right that the Hawks are going to at least consider it, I don't know. Maybe he just is like, you know what? I gave it a chance for a 4th cup and it didn't go the way I wanted to. I'm going to go home and finish my career. I don't know. Still don't think that's
his
happening.
Career in Chicago, it's not just 2 years though.
Yeah, because he'll want to come back to break Stan Mikita's record just for Connor Bedard to break it in a few years. Eric Brannigan asks about Stamkos. What cap space? Tampa's strapped again. Yeah, okay. Every year we say Tampa doesn't have. They figure it out. Them and the Vegas Golden Knights. They worry. This is when they figure it out. They've already made some moves. They brought back Ryan McDonough.
Yep.
6.75.
So,
well, you look like people are talking about Anthony Cirelli as maybe being shipped out. He's 26 with $6.25 million left on the cap till 2030, 31.
Figure it out. That's what that team does. I just think they will make it work. with Stamkos.
We'll
and
see.
if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll be happy if he comes here. I don't see that happening either, but I think, a lot of the reports are that they've started talking and they want to make it work. I think both sides want to be there, and if that's the case, then they'll figure it out.
Next up with Chicago ties, Nikita Zadorov being predicted at 5 years, $5.3 million.
Nope. No thanks.
I don't think that gets a GM fired, though.
He had a good season and a really good playoff, but 5 years, 5.5. No, I don't. I say no.
I wouldn't be shocked if he gets more.
Maybe
Never
Could be a bidding war for him.
Some team might get crazy.
Never underestimate the stupidity of an NHL general manager.
Especially when it's a big physical defenseman, when you have a bunch of old guys running NHL teams. How about Teuvo Teravainen? 4 years, 5.2 million.
Yes,
Done.
I would do that.
Done.
Yeah, that is what he is worth. That's a fair market value, and you'd be bringing in a guy who's going to go right into your top six, playing a lot of different scenarios, and is he's a full career different than when he was here in Chicago the first go around. He's a guy that can play both, a two-way game, guy that can play really well as a setup guy. Like, it makes a lot of sense for him to come back to Chicago. I know it doesn't happen often where guys come back with so much time between stops, but it makes a lot of sense for him to come back and play in that top six.
Next up with Chicago ties, we have talked about Jake DeBrusk. He's being predicted at 5 years, $5.8 million. I'd rather have Teuvo.
If it's not Teuvo and it's Jake DeBrusk, sure.
Okay. Max Domi, 2 years, $3.5 million.
Done.
No,
There's no way he's signing
going to
for
get
that
more
little.
than that, though.
I doubt. Well, I don't think he's. But if that's what it takes, done.
If that's what it takes, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
hell yeah.
But as Jay and I were talking before we went on the air, with Craig Berube, now the coach in Toronto, it makes Bertuzzi and Domi going back there a little more likely because they definitely play his style of hockey.
For both of them to go back, though,
Well, then they just
maybe
run.
that is that 2 year, $3 million.
Now he's predicting Bertuzzi, 4 years, $5.25.
No chance in hell. I don't get this. Bertuzzi's a nice player. He is not a 20-something.
That's almost $2 million more than Max Domi.
And it's the same guy.
I think I prefer Domi.
I would
Domi
rather
actually
have
wins
Domi.
face-offs.
I'd rather have Domi.
Bertuzzi had 43 points. Domi had 47.
I don't get this Tyler Bertuzzi.
His name is
thing.
Bertuzzi. I really think that's part of it.
Okay.
I would rather have Max
Well,
Domi.
Ty Domi was a better player than Bertuzzi's uncle, Todd.
Ooh, I don't know about that. Todd Bertuzzi scored 50 goals.
Yeah, and he
He
also
almost killed a guy, too.
Well, it doesn't mean he's a bad player.
Well,
He just
so did
killed a
Ty
guy.
Domi almost
Those
killed
are unrelated.
Yeah,
Those
but
are
Ty
unrelated.
Domi almost killed a guy within the rules. Difference. Big
If
difference.
we're going on the Pudwax scale, it's a conversation. But how about Chris
What's the
Tanev?
conversion rate on that Budweiser?
Any predictions on Chris Tanev's new deal?
Prediction? 4 years, 5.72.
This says 3 years, $4.7 million.
This is why I'm not a GM.
I would do that.
I would do that too.
He had
Yeah.
a rough game last night, but I would still do that.
I would take him.
A lot of guys have tough nights against McDavid.
I would take Tanev for that more than I would take Montour for
I
him.
agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, because that definitely fits the timeline better.
I also
It
think
does,
it's
yeah, and it's not as much money to try and get as big of an upgrade. That's going to, maybe has the higher potential to depreciate at the end of the contract.
Here's another name that's been mentioned: Alex Nedeljkovic as a backup, 2 years, $2.3 million.
Sure.
Yep. Thank you.
Done.
See
The
you,
aforementioned Eric Gustafsson. We don't want him here. 3 years, $3.85 million.
Good for him.
I'm
Somewhere
just going
else.
through the list
What
of.
about Jonathan Marchessault? Is he on there?
You were talking about Roslovic, by the way. I'm
Yeah.
just right here on him.
Yeah.
3 years, $3 million.
Done.
Yes,
I like that a
I
lot.
really like Jack Roslovic.
as
I think,
a second or third center. Yeah.
I think he's a guy that
He's
on
what,
this Blackout
25.
20. He might be 27 because he's he's a UFA for the first time.
Okay.
But I think he's a guy that
27.
on this team getting a more a more prominent role, I think he could be a really nice player with this current Blackhawks team.
Yeah.
Marchessault, 3 years, 6.25.
That's another guy, though, I think Vegas figures out a way to make work.
He's 34. It's a guy that could take less
Well,
just
but
to
you
stay and
also
be
got to
comfortable.
remember with Jonathan Marchessault, he may be 34, but he's not your typical 34-year-old because
Yeah.
he didn't get to the NHL till he was 27, so he doesn't have the high mileage most 34-year-olds have.
Sure.
Oh, wait a minute, though. Where was he playing before
He
that?
was. I mean, he was still playing.
Right, but
he
Like
was
he started playing hockey.
But it's
He
not
was
like
playing
he's-
he was playing minor league.
He wasn't playing.
It's not NHL minutes. It's
Okay.
different.
He
All right.
wasn't playing in the NHL, and he wasn't playing 20 playoff games a season for 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's look at other names that might be interesting. Shane Gostisbehere, 3 years, $5 million.
No.
It's not what they need here.
No,
Tanev over Goss.
Yeah.
You need more of a defensive-minded defenseman here to pair with Korch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Dumba, no.
I
Dylan
like Matt
DeMello.
Dumba.
I like Matt Dumba.
They're
but
saying 3 years, $3 million for Dumba.
I wouldn't do 3 years. I'd do 2 years, 3.5 for him.
sure, I'd be okay with that. There's a guy who you can put on your third pair.
TJ Brody.
Never
Fans here
worry, and
would
never
love,
worry
and the
about
fans
it.
here would love him.
Dumba.
Dumba.
He's got to wear 55. Oh, he can't.
Well,
'Cause
unless
Korchinski.
Korchinski takes 14.
If Korchinski changes to 14, I'm done with him. Trade him. Why would you move off of 55 for 14?
Because he wore 14 at Seattle.
Who cares? That is the worst number ever. It's
See,
so boring.
Korchinski doesn't
It's a-
come off.
It's like
It's
the people that
it's
wanted Bedard
available
to wear
now.
16. A million guys have worn 16. It's not special.
It's because he wore it for Canada in the
Yeah,
World Juniors.
that's dumb.
And as did Taze wore 16 for Canada.
Why would you move from 55, a great number? It looks great on the ice. It looks great on the jersey. It
Kevin
stands
Korchinski
out.
doesn't come off as a
Then
guy to
neither.
me that cares about what number.
Then
he
don't
wears.
change the 14. If
Right.
you don't
I don't
care,
think-
keep the cool number.
I don't,
If you wanna-
Jay, you're getting hot.
I am. It's a stupid number. You know, I'm a jersey number guy.
I don't think there's been any like
Favorite 14 in Hawks history.
There-
Go.
Greg Gilbert.
Chris Kunitz.
Exactly.
Renee Bork,
Thank you. You keep proving my point. Next,
Richard Panik.
Theo Fleury.
Theo Fleury.
Chris
yeah.
Campoli.
Want to keep going with?
was
with
I right with Greg Gilbert or no?
Maybe.
I don't know that one actually.
So the point being, he
could
could
be
be
the
the
first
first
really great one, yes.
number
Or-
14.
no. I'm
How
mad.
about Dan Fouts? I know he's not a Blackhawk, but
I'm gonna write. I'm
Going
gonna-
back to the NFL
I'm gonna write-
standards
I'm gonna write
in
an
an
article
NHL conversation.
about why Kevin Korchinski should switch to 14.
You're right. He was 14 on the Hawks. Good job.
yes.
If you want to
Still bad,
hear
still proving
Kevin's
my
thoughts
point.
about 55 and 14, you
42
can
guys. Wow.
go back to the CHGO Hawks Twitter account and I believe the CHGO Sports Instagram account and find a video about him talking about it. We did that way back when in August or September.
Here's some of the guys to wear 14 in Hawks history. Ab McDonald, he was pretty good. Ken Hodge, before he was traded with Phil Esposito to the Bruins. Wayne Mackey wore it. The other Brian Campbell, the one that played in the 70s. Then you have to go, apparently Al Secord wore it in his rookie season.
For like a game.
Yeah, and he's like, "This number sucks. Get it off me."
Billy Gardner wore it for
Hey, Billy
4
Gardner.
seasons.
Okay.
Greg Gilbert, Paul Eiserbart, veteran leader, Kip Miller, Steve Dubinsky,
Sure.
Roman
Dubinsky.
Volpot,
Keep going.
I love
Keep
Dubinsky.
proving me right, baby.
Ryan Vandenbush,
Of course.
He wore a lot of numbers.
Theo Fleury, Renee Bork, Sergei Samsonov,
Nice.
Chris Campoli, Drew LeBlanc,
Oh, yeah, he did. wear 14.
Richard Panik. Here's a name. Oh, here's 2 names. I totally forgot guys that existed. 2016, it was worn by Artemi Panarin's buddy, Victor Tikhonov.
Oh,
Remember
man.
that?
That was a fun game.
Yes, that was a fun 14
And then
games.
here's another name I forgot existed. Victor Edsel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
That guy was going to
Victor
be.
Hazel.
He's big and European. He's got to be good.
That was Victor Stahlberg. Is that who we got him from? I think we got him
I
from
believe that's
Predators.
correct.
Yeah. Yep.
And he was going to be.
He was going to be a steal.
He was Ryan Hartman. It was the Ryan Hartman trade with the Predators.
Ah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Recently seen in JP Graziano, Ryan Hartman.
Nice.
Don't dox him.
man.
That was like 2 weeks ago.
So
Victor
yeah,
Hazel,
Victor.
forgot
I
about
remember.
that. Scored the
Yeah, that triple overtime
game winner
Yeah.
for the Ice Hogs against the Wolves in
I remember
the
one of the
2018
first
postseason.
games I covered Rockford. I sat next to a pro scout, started talking him up. And I remember he was one of the first guys who was like, look at that guy. Never going to play in the NHL. Can't skate. Never going to play
just
in the
right
NHL.
away.
Yeah.
He was right.
Oh,
This
yeah.
guy sucks.
I mean, it's like,
He was right.
yeah, he was right.
I mean, he did play a few games in the NHL, obviously.
He wore number 14. That was his
but-
first mistake, apparently.
KQ says, Jay, what does previous 14s got to do with what Korchinski wears? I mean, so what? It's a bad number. It's stupid. It's boring. You have been given an awesome number, and you're going to opt out of it for an ordinary-ass number 14?
Korchinski also wore 25 for Canada at the World Juniors, which is
25 is a
also
good number.
now available for the Blackhawks.
We hope.
I would just say this. Unless there's like some special meaning to 14 to him, like it's
Was his dad's
he
number?
just lost
I
his
was-
dad, right?
I was
Maybe his
just
dad
gonna
wore
look up
14.
what
Yeah,
did
That's
his
what
dad
I'm
wear.
saying.
fine. That makes sense.
Pelly.
But if it's just some number that was handed to him, no, it's a bad number.
Ernie Banks wore that number.
Yes, he did. Baseball's different though. 14's good in baseball.
Oh. Pete
Paul
Rose.
Konerko wore 14, if I'm not mistaken.
Pete Rose, right? Pete
yeah,
Rose.
Pete
No, no,
Rose, yep.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have?
We're all
Korchinski's
different sports.
Dad, yes.
Yeah,
Larry
what's the
Korchinski.
conversion chart on 14s in baseball? and 14s in football?
What's the NHL?
3.9.
That's like wearing 14 in hockey is like wearing number like 74 in football. Actually, 64.
Jimbo Covert.
Jimbo Covert was 74, so I took that
yeah.
back. 64 is a bad number.
That was
Any
Jay
double
Hilgenberg.
digit, any
No, he was
double digit
63.
is cool.
It looks like his
You just like double digits because you wore double digits.
I did wear 55. That's
Dad
true. And I wear
wore-
77
Yeah.
coaching softball.
Well,
that's the year of my birth, though.
That's why you like 55 so much.
Are we really? You don't think 55 is a cool number?
Where is this coming from though? Who said he's changing his number?
He is.
How did we get on this?
I
by
don't
the way?
know.
I forgot.
Man, Sunnyside comes back on and it all goes to hell.
I forgot how we started talking.
I'll
about
say this: if you change from 55, you are disrespecting Doug Buffon, and you are dead to me.
All right, fair enough.
I hope we have Korchinski on at some point.
I will
this
yell at him,
season
and he'll just be like,
after
"What?
his number
I'm not
change.
changing." He'll just be like, "Yeah, I'm not changing my number."
People are like, yeah, obviously.
Well, good then.
Yeah, obviously, I'm not changing my number. Yeah,
Obviously.
stop yelling at me. Yeah.
I think his dad wore 24. So there
Best
you go.
55 NHLer Daze says Josh. That's not true.
Best
Keith Primo was
55.
55.
Why does Colorado Avalanche
Ben
stand
Eager.
out?
Van Eager was 55.
Or am I thinking of 54?
Larry Murphy was
Ryan
55.
Murphy's probably the best 55 ever.
Yeah.
55.
Primo was pretty good.
I'll take Daze.
Primo was pretty good.
You'll take Daze over Keith Primo?
Love Dazer.
Best NHL player to wear 55.
All right, I'm already on it.
By the way, this
Ooh,
pretty
Dave
much
Tiger Williams wore it.
Good number.
this works
Larry
as
Murphy.
our remembering some guys segment. I believe.
You're right, it does. We just don't have cards to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, Sergei Gonchar was 55. That's a good one.
Yeah, there you go. There's a guy that I was
Yep.
an honorable mention for yesterday's
Yes.
show from my list.
Murphy, pretty darn good. Hall of Famer. There's Gonchar, pretty darn good. Not good enough to get our.
Larry Murphy,
on our list.
Gonchar, Nicholas Cronwall, famous
that guy.
Blackhawks killer.
Literally.
And killer of
Almost
others.
murdered Martin
many
Havlat.
others.
Thomas Harley wears it now for the
pretty good.
Stars,
Nope.
who are down 1-0 in their series.
Pretty good.
Not for long.
Best
We
number,
don't do nothing soon.
best number 14 in the NHL.
Currently,
The history.
best 14 of all time in my mind is Theo Fleury.
Pre-Blackhawks, yes.
Yes, he was. Theo Fleury was an awesome
Flames
player.
Blackhawk was
Yeah.
Flames Theo Fleury.
I would say that was the best. Off the top of my head, Brendan Shanahan is the answer.
Yeah, I was thinking Shanahan.
Yeah, Brendan Shanahan's the
Yeah,
correct
that's hard to argue.
All right, he
with.
makes the number
best
slightly
19
better.
in NHL history.
Oh God, that's.
We could do a whole show.
I know my
on that.
favorite, Kyle Calder.
Troy Murray. I don't want to get beat up at practice.
Yeah, good point. I said Troy Murray too in my brain. All right, let's wrap it up. You know why? It's a long weekend. We're going to be off on Monday.
It's a long commute.
Yeah,
I got 2.5 hours in traffic on the way home.
Sweet.
Awesome.
That sounds fun.
Love it.
So we'll be back. Well, these guys will be back Tuesday. I'm taking Tuesday off as well because my daughter is graduating 8th grade.
Lame.
I hate it. And we've got our CHGO White Sox takeover
Yeah.
happening on May 27th.
On Memorial Day.
That is Monday
Is actual Memorial.
So-
versus the Toronto Maple Leafs.
If you're gonna miss some CHGO Blackhawks in your life, just go to a Sox game.
Yeah.
And if you say screw the Sox on Wednesday, go to Elk Grove and watch the Cubs game against Milwaukee.
yeah, watch party.
Oh, real-time
With-
sports.
with
the old
Cody.
stomping grounds, baby.
Is that John
Oh, really?
Dees?
That's my old hood.
Yeah, they got good
no,
food
it's
there.
not.
Yeah.
Looks
Yeah.
like no.
You can go and watch Cody swear at the TV in person.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah.
yeah. Did
It's
you
a
see
lot of
that
fun.
video that Big Dave reposted? It
I
said,
saw
"This is my
that.
guy
Yeah,
Cody."
it was.
It's so
it
very
was
much
pretty
Cody.
much the same dude.
Yeah.
All right, so if you want to go to those events, go to allchgo.com for the info, the ticket info. And remember, if you're a CHGO diehard, you save 20% on that,
Do that.
and all events. And look, if you sign up to be a diehard today, you get immediate access to buy those tickets for the Sox takeover or the Cubs watch party. You'll get your free T-shirt. You save 20% on everything at chgolocker.com. You save 20% on our events. We've got our golf outing coming up in
Yeah.
July. There is
The-
so much good stuff coming up.
What is it? The cookout?
Cookout
Cookout Classic,
yeah.
baby, July
Which is
22nd.
different than our other golf outing,
Totally is.
which
Yes,
will be
the
happening
kickoff.
And I've got some news on that
in
front.
August.
The My Hockey Podcast Worlds Will Collide as James Naveau will be playing
Who?
Oh.
in the Cookout Classic.
Never
So
heard
my
of him.
old Madhouse podcast partner,
Never heard of him.
I thought he was dead.
he'll be playing with us. Maybe we'll make a foursome out of it.
Just to
That'd be fun.
confirm, watch party is free of charge. That's just
Yes,
go
watch
hang
party.
out.
Show
yes,
up and
just
have
go
fun.
hang out.
Yeah.
Get some of that good ass food at real time.
Yeah.
This is good.
It's like right down the street from where I grew up.
Yeah.
I had a question before we got distracted. I wanted to get it in. Who was number 75 on that on that list? I wanted to know who was the
Hang on, I got
the
it.
last free agent.
I got it.
Oh, Law's got it. Who's all the way down there at the bottom?
It is
Max Pacioretty.
Max.
Oh, wow.
Pacioretty.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
He is ranked there, but it's not the lowest value.
Oh,
Oh, lowest by value.
I'm looking at the lowest value is Kevin LeBlanc, I think, at $895K.
Anthony Beauvillier is there for $900K. Bring him back.
That is the lowest. That is the lowest cap projection.
Okay.
Is Kevin LeBlanc?
But Pacioretty was
Him of the 9
numerically
points with the
number
Sharks.
75. I would take
He made
Max Pacioretty.
$4.73 million.
Who did?
Kevin LeBlanc. That was his
Yeah.
cap hit before this year. Okay,
Well, he was a better player when they had better players around him.
it's funny how that works.
That is funny how
You know,
that works.
with no Thomas Hurdle or
Timo
Timo
Meier.
Meyer and Couture barely played this year.
Yeah.
No Carlson. All of a sudden, Kevin LeBlanc looks like a guy.
Other players. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk to everybody Tuesday. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate you being here. Lots of likes. Thank you for that. If you haven't hit it yet, hit it one more
Much
time
better
for us.
chat today than yesterday.
Way to go, chat. Way to go. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you Tuesday on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.